So get out there with your target, because I always tell drivers, if you want to make a difference, work with targets. Some people go out there with target of an amount. So they say, I'll go home when I make this amount of money. On this other hand, there are those who say that I will go home when I drive this number of kilometers. Okay, so for me that would be the most applicable thing, because sometimes you will be very lucky, you can get 1 or 2 trips, and then your amount, the money you are targeting, you hit it, but then it is still very early in the morning. Will you go home? No. So for you is listen to your body, feel how fatigued you become after a certain number of kilometers, and put yourself a target. Say, if I do 100 kilometers, my body is tired, I am fatigued, I feel like going home, and put that as your target. So hello and welcome back to this YouTube channel. And so many people have asked me to give them a breakdown of how much money can a driver make on a single trip. And we can, do some other extrapolations from that to try and estimate how much money can a cab driver take home at the end of a single day and at the end of a single month. So I will show you a very simple breakdown that is a typical example that I have taken from an actual trip within the city of Nairobi, and I hope this will serve as an example of how much potential a driver has to take home, if he is a full-time Uber or Litro or Bolt driver. So let us tackle this equation. So how much does a driver take home? We are going to consider a trip from the Nairobi city, from the Central Business District area, all the way to Junction Mall along the Kilimani area. So that is a trip roughly of 9 kilometers. And the fare that you will be charged will vary between 420 and 450, depending on the application that you are going to use. So this one I took it from Bolt, which is, in my view, the cheapest. So if you check with Uber, it would give you something around 450, Litro Cab, around the same amount. So this will be the income from that trip. So what are the costs involved? The first direct cost is the cost of fuel. Petrol is the biggest cost in the operations of the cab business. So 1 liter of fuel or 1 liter of petrol, if you are using the economy class, will give you 18 kilometers for the economy class cars. So any car between 650 and 1300 cc. That car, in the absence of traffic or just moderate traffic, it should be able to give you 18 kilometers per liter. So meaning that if 1 liter is going for 210, it means that to do 9 kilometers from CBD to the junction, the driver will just need half a liter, which is 105 shillings. So I have done 18 kilometers for 1 liter, so it means that we are doing 9 kilometers, you need half a liter, which will cost you 105 shillings. Let us go now to the second cost, which is the commission that you pay to the application, either Bolt, Litro Cab or Uber, for them giving you the business. As anybody in business understands, the biggest cost in business nowadays is advertisement and marketing. So this is the marketing cost that the driver pays, because the driver just sits in the car and waits for the ride to be, to ring without any effort. So this is the marketing price that drivers pay. So 25% is the average commission that the driver will pay from this amount that they will collect. So 25% of 420 is 100 shillings. So you will see that 100 plus 105, it will be 205. So minus 420. Actually, this one I had worked it with a fare of 400. Let me just keep it 400 so that we keep the math the way I had worked it out. So 400, so the driver will take home 195 net profit from that trip. But of course, there are other things that are involved. There is the car maintenance, there is wear and tear, but those things I will show you where they will go. So this is the gross profit that the driver will make from from that trip. So, but there are things that I needed us to discuss. Out of this 195, okay, I have said there is wear and tear, there is car maintenance, there is service. But those things do not really impact directly on how much the driver will take home, because there are two scenarios. The driver could be driving their own car, or the driver could be driving a partner's car. So meaning that the driver is not in charge of all those maintenance or all those wear and tear, repairs and spares. So the driver will only be fueling the car and paying the commission. Any other cost associated to the car will be paid by the car owner. So the driver will be required in that case to give a car owner an amount of, let's say, between per day it should be between 1,100 to 1,500. So that is the amount that a car driver would normally give to a partner. So meaning that this is a pure take home for the driver, but this is not enough. The driver does not do only one trip in a day. I have estimated from what I usually do when I drive, or what I have seen my drivers do from their applications. So normally a typical driver will do 80 kilometers in a day. No, actually not 80. Sorry, this was an earlier estimation. A typical driver will do 150 kilometers in a day. So, okay, so you can do the cross multiplication here. If one trip of 9 kilometers is giving him 195, so how much money will that driver take home if he does 150 kilometers? So it means that the driver will take home 3,200. Okay, and you can imagine then what would be the gross collection. How much money would he have collected for him to take home 3,200? So you can quickly use this kind of calculation here. So maybe the driver should have collected around 6,500 or 5,000 shillings in a day for him to be able to take home 3,200 shillings. But this is just a rough estimation, because I have put something else here, that a driver must be very smart, so that the 150 kilometers he does in a day counts almost all of it towards a certain payment, so that you don't do what drivers call kuchoma. If you are not smart about pickup distance, then you might find that in a day, out of the 150 kilometers you do, you might have wasted another maybe even like 20 kilometers. Okay, you might waste 20 kilometers. You might waste 20 kilometers to pick up and drop. So it is for you to see how far should you go to pick a client. Okay, because that would add to the wasted distance out of the 150 that you do. So normally I always tell drivers, and I did a video with a driver, and you can check it, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, and that driver was saying that when you drop a customer, hang around. Don't be in a hurry to drive to another hotspot. Hang around so that you can see whether you can get a driver, a passenger just from the next door. If it takes too long, then be strategic. Move to a place where you know that you will not need to move to another one before you get a ride. So this is what costs driver so much. So, but again, don't move a distance that is more than 1.5 kilometers to pick a client. And yes, by those kind of skills, you might find that you will waste a maximum of maybe 10 kilometers in a day. So the amount that you will work with here is around 120 to 130 kilometers. That's the money that will give you income. And then the 10 kilometers, of course, which is not even equivalent to 1 liter of fuel. So meaning that if you are smart, maybe you will be giving yourself 1 liter as a waste during the day for pick and drop. Okay, but then you will find that if you do like 10 customers, definitely there is 1 customer or 2 that will tip you. So you will find that in a way, I always say that the amount of distance that goes to waste while picking a customer will be compensated in a way through the tips, because tips really matter. They are not as much, but they can pay for this gap of wasted kilometers. So if you ask me how much you can take home, I don't know whether I have my duster here, but no. Yeah, if you want to ask me how much you can take home every day, if you drive 150 kilometers per day, you will take home 3,200. So get out there with your target, because I always tell drivers, if you want to make a difference, work with targets. Some people go out there with target of an amount. So they say, I'll go home when I make this amount of money. On this other hand, there are those who say that I will go home when I drive this number of kilometers. Okay, so for me that would be the most applicable thing, because sometimes you will be very lucky, you can get 1 or 2 trips, and then your amount, the money you are targeting, you hit it, but then it is still very early in the morning. Will you go home? No. So for you is listen to your body, feel how fatigued you become after a certain number of kilometers, and put yourself a target. Say, if I do 100 kilometers, my body is tired, I am fatigued, I feel like going home, and put that as your target when you are driving. Okay, so for you it depends on what works for you, and that's why I always say, anytime I interview drivers, every driver will have a different story, because it's an initiative of individuals. This business, it's never the same for everyone. People, as I have mentioned, work on different plans and different strategies, and those strategies work differently depending on those type, like the age of people, the health, where those people live, okay, whether those cars are theirs or not. So everybody over time establish a strategy that works for them or fails to work for them, and hence they complain forever and ever. And there are those that if I interview them, they will show you that this is a rosy business, is a business that can give you a good amount that can sustain you and your family and pay all your bills and make some good savings. But also one thing you need to remember is that this business, and I will make another video for that, if you are driving Uber, you must understand what type of business it is. It's like those people who work in supermarkets, like cashiers. If you want to buy a car through that type of business, you know how many years it will take you. So there are things you cannot do while you are in certain professions or while in certain jobs. You must know how much money can you make from certain jobs, okay, so that you can manage your expectation. But that is a video I'll do for another day. I will tell you, if depending on your ambitions, depending on your goals, how far can this job take you? And that is the video that I will do next. So thank you guys for watching, and continue subscribing and sharing, and reach out to me through the comment box there if you need any assistance to start this business. I'm open for discussion. We can schedule a short meeting and take you through the processes, how to buy a car, how to get acquire a loan, the best way to finance it, and then also we can work on the income projections and the payback and those kind of stuff, so that you can know how long will it take you to start now breaking even and enjoying the net profit. Okay, thank you guys.